I was honestly expecting this to come a little bit later than it did, but Kirk Cousins sounded off about his future with the Falcons. And looking back during the mini bye, this might be the perfect time to address these kinds of rumors or this kind of news if you're asked about it. Welcome in, Falcons fans, to Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and we're going to talk about what Kirk said at his press conference. But let's start with this. Kirk against the Buccaneers was sensational. I thought what he showcased against the Buccaneers was indicative that he still has the ability to be at least a bridge quarterback in this league. I don't think that he has, another 3 to 4 years of starting caliber material left, considering what we've seen from him this season and the injuries have caught up to him. He's now a year older, but I do think he could still be a very good bridge for a variety of teams, including the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, he had 373 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 117. I mean, that's just excellent. Now, before we get into what he actually had to say, if you want fresh, entertaining, engaging Atlanta Falcons content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Selfishly speaking, we're only 111 way. It would go a long way for my bosses to see that, hey, we got a nice little push towards that 47K. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button today. Kirk, what'd you say? What'd you say? Here's what he has to say about when he was asked with his future with the Falcons. Kirk, what's your future look like with the Dirty Birds? He said, I think those are kind of March questions. We're in December. We have to play out the rest of our schedule here, get through get through the next 3 games, and understand that if you play football well and if you win, those kinds of conversations will take care of themselves. My focus is on the next 3 weeks, and then we'll have those March conversations in March. What Kirk is telling you is, if he wants to stay here in Atlanta, he's got to play well. I do think that that is a true statement. But I also believe this. Kirk will not be back next year. And it's not because of his incapability to play the quarterback position. It has everything to do with the money. Everything to do with the money. If you release Kirk, it's a $35 million cap savings. Cap savings. If you keep him, it's a $57 million cap hit. If you do the math on that, that's like a $92 million swing. I mean, that's insane. Think about what you could do with an extra $35 million versus a $57 million cap hit. You're strangleholded then to Kirk Cousins. And like I told you, I still think as a bridge, Kirk could work very well, but you wouldn't keep Kirk based off of that kind of money as just a bridge. He would have to be the starter for the entirety of the year or for the remainder of his contract. And I don't think he's good enough or young enough or mobile enough to continue to give the Falcons what they need long term. In the short term, can he win you games? Yes. Can he give you performances like he did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Yes. But guys, you can't think short term. You got to think long term. And like I told you, I think he's shown enough to be a bridge quarterback to another rebuilding team in the NFL. One that would particularly be interested in drafting someone as high as the first round. Now, I do believe that there are a couple of teams that are going to be very interested in drafting a quarterback in the first round. I can name 4 right off the bat. The Jets, the Raiders, the Browns, even though the whole Shador thing, but he played like crap yesterday, and the Arizona Cardinals. Guaranteed the Jets and the Raiders. Browns up in the air, and the Cardinals maybe not in the first round, maybe in the second. But either way, there will be teams that draft quarterbacks in the first round. So you could call up Kirk Cousins, or if, the Falcons end up releasing him and designate him for a post-June 1st release, boom, you would have an unbelievable time in free agency with a brand new amount of cap savings if you're the Falcons, and Kirk could go out and sign with a team where he gets an opportunity to start. It's a win-win for everybody. It also would open up more room to just kind of see what Michael Penix has. Because here's the thing. There's enough questions right now around Michael Penix and his ability to be an NFL quarterback and the starting franchise quarterback for the Falcons based off of his injuries. We don't need even more questions surrounding Kirk Cousins. Does that make sense? Like, we already have this gigantic question mark surrounding the 2026 quarterback. Why add more to that question mark surrounding Kirk? if we already know that the Falcons roster will be strangleholded because of that cap hit? So to me, the writing is on the wall. I don't think Kirk's going to be back here, despite him playing really well against the Buccaneers. And if he continues to play well down the stretch of the season, he would have to be like 14 touchdowns, no picks, and winning every game by a blowout in order for me to actually consider, okay, Kirk may be coming back next year. But if you think the Falcons should keep Kirk Cousins, type K for keep, type P for pass. Like I told you, I'm in P for pass. I'm thinking 95% he's out the door. And coming up next, I'm going to tell you about that 5%. Because I would be foolish to say that there is a no percent, 100% chance that Kirk Cousins is staying next year. Because there is one scenario in which I do believe the Falcons keep Kirk Cousins. And I'll tell you about that right after I tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks. Holiday season's here. Christmas is just 10 days away. And while you and I are sitting here trying to make decisions about what gifts to buy, what games to watch, basketball's here, playoff pushes, it is one place. There is one place where it continues to be good to be right, and that is our friends over at Prize Picks. They got a brand new feature alert with early payouts, meaning if your lineup gets off to a really hot start, you could have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. If your fantasy season is already over, mine's cooked, you can use Prize Picks to basically circumvent that. All you have to do is pick your players and their weekly projections, and when they hit, you win. No draft required. Takes 30 seconds to make a lineup. All you got to do, pick your player, pick their stat projections, more or less, and then download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. All right, so the Falcons quarterback room right now is as follows. Kirk and Michael Penix Jr., those are the two guys that would basically be competing for your starting position right now heading into 2026. Here's what I was telling you, though. If Kirk is a $35 million cap savings and a $57 million cap hit, it kind of looks like the writing is on the wall. But where's that 5%? The only way that you would keep Kirk Cousins, this is the only way, is if you were officially bailing on Michael Penix Jr. and then drafting a quarterback. That's it. If you said, we've seen enough from Penix, we know what the injury history is, we've already seen Kirk playing well, we're off the Penix train. So Penix would essentially become like a, third option for you. Kirk would be your starter. But then that still leaves that QB2 spot wide open. And then you would still be drafting a quarterback because Kirk Cousins still can't be your long-term answer. But why would the Falcons bail on Michael Penix Jr.? Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying this is happening. I'm not saying I want this to happen. But why would they? Well, the injuries limit Michael Penix Jr.'s growth. We already know he can't really move outside of the pocket. He's had 5 season-ending injuries in 8 years, guys. That's not something that you can just ignore. You have to bake that into who the player's going to be and also what the player already is. We also know that the Falcons could look at this and say, we've already got a very talented roster. We fixed the defense. The pass rush is amazing. James Pierce Jr. is a home run. Jalen Walker looks like a future, starting edge in this league for a multitude of years to come. We've got a good secondary, a couple of tweaks here and there. We're legit contenders in the already weak NFC South. And then the last reason, and probably the most important reason why they would bail on Michael Penix Jr. If Raheem Morris is gone, which I still think he could be, if Zach Robinson is gone, if this whole coaching staff gets a facelift, the new coaching staff is going to want their fresh start with their guys, their quarterbacks. And they could keep Kirk Cousins and say, look, Kirk, we know what we're getting from Kirk. We know he's the bridge. So why not go out there and just draft your own guy and start from scratch? The Atlanta Falcons only have a few needs. They need a nose tackle. They need another outside corner. They need a little bit of offensive line depth, and they need a wide receiver. Those are really the only 4 needs that they've got right now. Everything else is pretty much ship-shape. You don't need a running back. You could argue they don't need a quarterback. They don't need anything on the defensive line other than that nose tackle. There is really only a couple of needs that you actually need to go out and address. So if you did want to draft a quarterback in the 3rd or the 4th round, you could. You absolutely could, and sit him for a year. Let him learn under Kirk and basically say, Kirk, your job is safe for the year. You're starting for the year. You could get Diego Pavia, although after what he did with the whole Heisman thing, I don't know that he's going to be drafted at all. You can get Carson, Beck, LaNorris Sellers, Drew Allar, who's 6'5", 230 pounds. So drafting a quarterback is in your best interest this year. Now, you wouldn't draft him in the 2nd round. 2nd round, I'd go after a wide receiver or a nose tackle. But I would draft one in either the 3rd or the 4th. But if you're thinking to yourself, well, Moose, hold on. You're getting way too far ahead of yourself. Let's say we do get rid of Kirk Cousins. We don't want that cap hit destroying our books. Fine. I did see this, by the way, and I'm not saying that it means anything, but I do think it is interesting that right after Phillip Rivers gets back in the league at 44 years old, Matty Ice comes out and does an interview where he says, I've had these feelings where I've been sitting there watching these games, and I think, man, I could go out there and do it. So what if you got rid of Kirk Cousins? $35 million back on the cap. And you sign Matt Ryan to a 1-year veteran minimum deal where he just comes out and plays the bridge just like Kirk would. You could end up with a 2026 list of quarterbacks that look like this. Matt Ryan, Michael Penix Jr. as like that 3rd option if you were bailing on him. And then a rookie quarterback that could learn from Matty Ice, who's a great mentor, knows everything about playing quarterback in the NFL. And you can sit behind Michael Penix Jr., and if MPJ becomes your starter in 2026, boom, you've got Matt Ryan basically as a quarterback's coach and a rookie quarterback that is waiting in the wings. This feels like the perfect scenario for Falcons fans. But that's just me. That's me stepping into T-Font shoes. There's a reason I'm not an NFL GM. Either way, I'm going to leave you with this. Would you draft a quarterback in the 2026 NFL draft? This is going to be the pinned comment of today's video. So make sure you get down there, you type your Y for yes, or you type your N for no. That's going to do it for us on this episode of Falcons Today by Chat Sports. I'm sure you're wondering and noticing, oh, there it is. I got the wrong side. My little Notre Dame jacket right here. Had to support the boys while also being a little bit chilly here in the office. Until next time, Falcons fans, rise up and be cool.